Ashley and Paul. We're going to be taking you through a stretching routine today. So this will help you with any tightness that you're feeling during our workouts. It'll really loosen everything up. This is going to focus on primarily hips, hamstrings, and shoulders / back flexibility. And you will want to use some blocks if you have them available. You can also use a foam roller, which we can demonstrate that as well. But these are going to help you with propping yourselves up in some of the postures that we're going to be doing. So we're going to go ahead and get started with just a quick warm up. So I'm going to start in plank pose. And from plank pose, I'm just going to move back and forth into downward facing dog. So from here, I'm going to stretch back, engage my core, and as I'm doing this, I'm pushing my hips up towards the ceiling and then pushing my chest towards my quads, and I'm grounding down in my feet here. So I'm trying to get my heels to touch the floor as much as possible. Come down to plank again. Back up into downward facing dog. Plank. Downward facing dog. One more time, plank. And downward facing dog. All right, from here, I'm going to take my left leg up, reach it up towards the sky, three-legged dog, and then I'm going to bring this leg around into a lunge, and I'm just going to stay planted right here. Okay, so you're in a low lunge, looks like this. And then I'm going to take my left arm and reach it up towards the ceiling. And then I'm going to reach underneath my right arm, and then come up. Reach up towards the ceiling again. Rotate underneath that right arm. Come up. Reach towards the ceiling. One more time. Rotate under. And reach up. Okay, now I'm going to plant that left hand. Come back into that downward facing dog. And now next, my right leg is going to come up. Three-legged dog. And then I'm going to bring it forward into that low lunge. And we're going to repeat that same step on the other side. Okay? So, I'm going to be twisting towards the back of the room, taking my right arm up, twist, and then dive underneath that left arm, twist up, and underneath, twist up, underneath again. Last time, up, dive under, and now plant your right hand, kick that leg back, come back into downward facing dog. All right, now from here, come into child's pose. Okay, so child's pose, your knees are gonna be about mat width, and from here, you're just gonna push your butt back, and you're trying to get your chest down to the ground. Keep your arms wide spread. I love that this song is on right now. Okay, so I'm gonna start rocking my hips back and forth. And this is just gonna loosen them up a little bit more. Okay, now I'm gonna walk my hands forward, push my hips back up, and this time we're gonna come into puppy pose. So it looks like this. So you're trying to bring your chest down to the ground while keeping your butt up in the air, basically. Okay, so here, if you can get your full, Mocha's demonstrating too. If you can get your full chest down onto the ground, just go ahead and put your chin down as well. Otherwise, you can just put your face down on the mat. Mocha, you're such a good helper. Yes, you are. Hi there. Oh, extra cuteness. Hello. Okay. All right. And then we're gonna come up and let's do some cat-cow poses. Okay. So come into a tabletop. Hands are gonna be underneath your shoulders, and we're gonna round the spine. And then release. Look up towards the ceiling. Back into cat pose. Coming down into cow.
Jason just like my selfie. What a creep. Is that guy sleeping over there? Yeah. The one next to the girl with no shoes on. That's
We're gonna do this 3 more times.
such a fake model.
So just go at your own pace.
Who goes out on Mondays? Okay, let's go take some shots. Oh no. Oh, I feel like I'm about to throw up. Oh wait, never mind. I'm fine. Let's go dance. There's no
This
water.
sucks so much.
This is my first time ever hearing it.
You've never heard this song?
No.
Oh my god. It's the very first Chainsmokers song. Alright. And then the last thing I'm going to do while I'm still in this tabletop pose, I'm going to come into a neutral spine. And then I'm just going to rotate my head back and forth. And just get a neck stretch. All right. Okay, so we're gonna start with some hip and hamstring openers. So the first move that I'm gonna go into is lizard pose. So it's just the same thing as that low lunge pose that we were in. And you can do this with blocks. If you're super flexible in your hips, which I am not, you can actually bring your chest down to the ground. But I'm gonna show you how I do it with blocks and then how I gradually start moving towards the ground. So I'm gonna grab my 2 blocks, put them to either side of me, and then let's come up in the downward facing dog. Really push those hips up towards the ceiling. You should feel this in the back of your legs. Okay, and then coming up into 3-legged dog, so my right leg is up. I'm gonna swing this forward and bring my right leg to the outside of my right hand. And this is lizard pose. Okay, so you can either stay here, or if you can come down to your forearms, that'll give you a deeper stretch. When I get into this pose, I start rocking back and forth and just really start to try and open up my hips. Paul has super loose hips. I'm super jealous. So he's able to get right down into his forearms. Okay, so I'm gonna bounce, really bounce up and down. Just kind of make some circles. That's really gonna loosen that hip up. Okay, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to tuck my toes under just like this. And I'm gonna use my blocks as a prop so I can get as far down onto my forearms as possible. And I'm just gonna hold this. One other thing that'll help, so you notice my leg is not straight facing forward. I'm actually pushing my knee out slightly. This helps, especially if you're inflexible in this position. It helps your hip just kind of open up even more. All right, let's go ahead and transition out of that. Okay, so I'm gonna come back up, start rocking back and forth. Okay, now I'm gonna plant down my knee and just walk this right hip back, or right foot back, okay? And then from here, I'm going to bring this left arm down and then rotate around my back and grab my left foot for a quad stretch. I'm really rotating my chest. All right, awesome. Okay, so now from here, I'm gonna kick back into that downward facing dog. And let's set up for the left side. So kicking up into three-legged dog, really extending, feeling that stretch in the hamstring, and then taking this leg out to the outside of my left hand. Okay, and now from here I'm just gonna rock back and forth. Try and get that hip really opened up, pulse up and down. I like to make like little figure eights with my hips too. Okay, so getting that movement is really important in this pose if you have really tight hips. The movement is what's actually going to open your hips up, okay? So static stretches don't really open you up as much as movement does. Pulsing up and down. Okay, now I'm tucking my toes under, feel pretty good in that hip. I'm gonna bring my blocks underneath my forearms and push down as much as I can. Okay, so you can see this knee is tracking out this way. That's fine, you can even push it to do a little bit more. I like holding this pose for a really long time. I think it's great. Okay, so I'm still keeping that movement just a little bit, pulsing back and forth, up and down. All right, now let's start to come out of that. Push these blocks back. Okay, I'm just gonna step back a little bit, square up my hips, and then I'm now rotating my left arm up and around so I can grab that right foot, okay? So you can also hold on to your knee just like this in this pose. You can come down. This I feel like is a deeper stretch in your like chest. You have to rotate a little more. All right, and go ahead and let go of that leg and release it down. All right, and then let's move back into that plank pose. Okay, and then into downward facing dog. Okay, so from here, if you need to take a bit of a rest, you can come down, drop into a child's pose. All right, and the next move that we're gonna be doing is pigeon. So I'm gonna come back up into downward facing dog. Raise up my right leg, and then I'm gonna thread it through and bring my right knee to match my right elbow, and then bring my foot to match my left elbow. So you're kind of at a 90-degree angle here. You can tuck this leg in just a little bit more, or take your blocks. If you want to maintain this 90-degree angle, which is going to be a much deeper stretch, take a block, place it underneath your knee here for support. Okay, from here we're gonna just arch our chest up a little bit. Again, rocking, always rocking back and forth. Just really trying to get that hip to loosen up. Okay, Okay, and now we're gonna start to fold forward. Okay, so if you're in this pose, it helps to have a block as well that you can put your forehead on. All right, give it 3 more breaths in this pose. Really give yourself some long, deep breaths in this. This is very painful to some people. Breathe through the discomfort. All right, start to come up out of it. All right, remove the blocks if you have them. And now we're gonna come into what's known as a log stacking pose. So I'm gonna actually face the camera to demonstrate this. So log stacking pose looks like this, okay? So your right leg is continuing to stay bent in at that 90-degree angle. And then your left leg is actually gonna come and stack right on top of it. So what I like to do for this is I put my foot like right in the crease of my knee. But I have really tight hips, so sometimes you can move this over just slightly. Some people can get into, what is that called? The lotus pose?
Yeah.
Paul can do lotus pose. So it looks like that. I wouldn't recommend trying that if you've never tried it before, but you know, he can just like hang out like that all day, so. So what I'm gonna do while I'm in this log stacking pose is I'm gonna put a block just underneath my foot so that I have something that gives me a place to balance my leg here. And then from here, you're actually going to fold forward as much as you can. I can't go too far, tight hip syndrome. But as you start to loosen up, you should start to feel like you can move a little bit more and you might be able to stretch just a little bit further. All right, and come out of that. Remove the block if you have it. And go ahead and unwind yourself. All right, and then let's move back into that downward facing dog. And now we're gonna do the other side. All right, so lift up your left leg. Kick it through. Bring that knee at a right angle from your body. It helps to also walk your right leg, your opposite leg back just a little bit, just to get more into the pose. I'm gonna set my block up. Paul's just gonna go into it because he's awesome like that. All right, so.
Just wait till we get the hamstrings, then I look terrible.
All right, so what we're doing here is we're trying to square up the hips first before we drop down. So I wanna make sure that I'm getting straight up and down. And now I'm gonna drop. Fold forward. Place your face on the block if you have it or if you need it. Okay, and you can see that I'm just using slight rocking motions in my hips. So I'm just rocking side to side. Take another breath in this pose and start to come out of it. Okay. So I'm going to remove that block. Set that aside. And then I'm gonna come and face the camera again for our log stacking on the other side. Okay, so left knee is bent in, again, at a 90-degree angle from your body. Hey, Mo. Bringing that other leg up, hitting that crease in your knee, then placing a block underneath if you need it. And now we're gonna fold forward. So for this one, I actually feel like I can remove this block and let this hip sink a little bit lower. So that's what this looks like, okay? Whew. Give it another breath. Okay, you gotta be in or out. You gotta be in or out. Yeah. Which one, huh? Which one is it?
Did you keep track of our starting time?
No.
The camera will go off at 30 minutes. I was just thinking about that.
Okay, so after that log stacking pose, the next poses that we're gonna go into are some other hip openers that are actually gonna work the inside hips here. And the first pose that we're gonna do is frog pose. So for frog pose, if you have a mat, you can roll it up to support your knees. All right. And so I'm taking my knees out as far as I can comfortably get them. My legs are my lower leg is at a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's very important. So 90-degree angle here. Okay, so don't kick your legs in, just keep them out and straight. Okay, now from here, I'm gonna take a block and you can place your forehead on a block here. And you also want to make sure that you are sitting your hips back. Okay, so push your hips back and then sink down towards the ground. Again, if you can't get to the full ground, just place a block under your chest, under your forehead, whatever works for you. Okay, we'll be here for about 30 seconds. Okay, start to come up. All right, and let's unroll our mats. Sorry, Mocha. We'll put you up on the bed, okay? All right, the next move that we're gonna do is a wide-legged straddle forward fold. These are also known as pancakes. So we're going to kick our legs out in a wide-legged stance. And for this move, I like to have blocks available because it helps me gradually get down. So I will either stack my blocks like this or stack them like this, depending on how flexible I'm feeling. And from here, we're just going to fold. So flat back, fold, reach forward.
And this is one position, so we're I am not flexible, so you can always grab onto the legs and pull forward, because I'm never going to reach these blocks.
Yeah, good point.
At least not today.
Okay, so I'm reaching forward as I fold. This just helps me keep a flat back. Okay, and then I'm placing my hands on the ground. And from here, I'm just kind of pulsing up and down. So contract your abs and pulse down towards the floor and then relax. Down, relax. Down, relax. Okay, so that helps engage your muscles here. So that's gonna open up these inner thigh muscles, those inner hips. Okay, you can see as I'm pulsing, I'm getting closer and closer to the blocks. I'm just gonna place them here. Okay, now I'm gonna reach out and hold this. How'd you get down? How'd you get down? All right, come on up. I'm gonna move those blocks aside. All right. So I'm gonna come in. And then the next move that we're gonna do is a goddess squat. So from here, I'm going to come up. My toes are gonna face out. I'm gonna sink my hips as low as I possibly can towards the floor. If you look from a side view, okay, my butt's not out like this. I'm bringing it in. And then from there, switch around again. Okay, from here, I'm gonna press my knees out with my elbows and just rock side to side. Okay, you can make figure eights with these as well. That helps loosen up one hip versus the other. All right, and then I'm gonna press up into a forward fold. All right, so from our forward fold, we're gonna fold over our right leg. Focusing on keeping my back flat in this posture. If you can't reach the floor, you can do like Paul is doing and just hold on to your knee here. Okay, but always keeping a flat back. You don't want to round like this. All right, now let's take it over to the left leg. Your butt's towards the camera. That's rude. That's rude. You want to help me forward fold? I love this puppy. You're so good. All right, and now fold down towards the middle. Okay, and I'm just gonna kind of rock my hips side to side. Now, from here, we're going to walk our hands and pivot our feet towards the front of the mat. Okay? And we're coming into what's known as a pyramid pose. So your feet are just slightly apart here, and you're a little bit wider than hips width. And from here, I'm going to keep a flat back. This is where blocks come in handy for this position. So you can use blocks to support you if you can't get all the way down into this. Otherwise, you're gonna fold towards your right leg, and you should feel this in your hamstring. make this harder, you can do what's known as a revolved triangle pose, where you bring your left arm to the outside of your right foot, and then you start to peel open your chest here. And you can extend your arm. This is a serious hamstring stretch. All right, come back down. All right, now I'm gonna walk my hands around towards the front and come all the way over to the other side. Set up that pyramid pose on the other leg, okay? So, watch Paul. He's using that block because he can't get all the way down to the ground. Okay, folding over, keeping your back as flat as possible. Bring your nose to your knee. Okay, make sure that your hips are square in this pose as well. All right, for that increased hamstring stretch, I'm going to take my right arm, place it outside my left foot. You can stay here or start to peel your chest up towards the ceiling. Paul's using a block. All right, and come down. All right, great. So let's rotate back towards the front of the room. And I'm just gonna come down now into a seated position. Okay, we just got a couple hamstring moves and then we're gonna do some shoulder openers and then we'll be done. All right, so I'm tucking my left leg underneath my bum, extending my right leg. And from here, I'm coming into, this is known as a half split. So my right leg is extended, my left leg is folded, and I'm just gonna start to walk my arms out over my right leg here. And I'm also gonna rotate my foot from side to side to just really open up that hip. You can do this elevated a little bit more too if it's more comfortable on your feet. You can also tuck this leg in completely like this and really come forward. Okay, I'm gonna tuck that leg in, go to the other side. Come on out of that. Now for the next hamstring move, we are going to lie down onto our backs. For this move, if you have a strap, it's helpful in getting your leg up in parallel. Otherwise, you can keep your leg bent. But this is a really intense hamstring stretch right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay back. I'm gonna use Mocha as a pillow. Hey, baby. All right, my right leg is going to extend up towards the ceiling. And from here, I'm gonna bend my knee into my chest, okay? So get it so that you can get your thigh flush against your stomach here. And then I'm gonna grab my toe with my opposite arm and continue to pull in. And then I'm gonna slowly extend, okay? If this is hard, you can bend this left leg. Otherwise, try and keep it straight and drive that opposite leg into the ground while you do this move, okay? So you can also sit up just like this. That will help. I'm gonna start really extending this leg, pushing it up towards the ceiling, all while making sure that I'm maintaining as much contact with my stomach as possible, so that top of that thigh should be flush against the stomach if you can get it there. I guess I should say abdomen, not stomach. Small details. Paul's not listening. He's struggling. He hates this pose.
Yes, I do.
Alright, so from here we're going to take this leg out towards the side. I'm going to take my opposite arm and drop it down so that I can balance out. So just take it just a little bit to the right of your hip. Alright, now I'm going to grab that toe again and I'm going to move the other way, okay? So this will give you an IT band stretch. Not a lot, just cross it slightly over your hip. You should really feel that along the IT band. You'll know it's working if you're shaking. Alright, and let's lower that leg. You can windshield wiper your legs a little bit if you need to loosen that up. Okay, and then I'm going to extend my right leg now, bring my left knee into my chest. I'm going to lift up, grab my toe with my opposite arm. And then as I lay back, I'm just going to continue to try stretching that leg out, all while maintaining this connection between my thigh and my abdomen. Okay? So it's okay if you can't get your leg completely straight, all right? This is the pose that we want to get into. We want to be flexible here in the hips first, and then slowly start to extend that hamstring up. And breathe through this pose. Paul's shaking. All right, I'm grabbing the outside of my leg, and I'm going to bring it out to the side just a little bit. And then I'll hold on to Paul. I love you, you're doing great.
Thank you.
And then bring it over to the other side. Cross it just slightly over your body. You don't need this to be too much to get that stretch. Okay, and I'm keeping my opposite arm down on the ground so that I have a counterbalance. All right, and let's lower it down. All right, I'm gonna windshield wiper, and now we're gonna move on to some shoulder stretches. So my favorite shoulder stretches involve blocks, and I highly, highly recommend getting some blocks if you don't have them, if you have really tight shoulders. So, I'm sorry to wake you up. Okay, there are a couple ways you can do this, but we're gonna stack our blocks up just like this. You can also stack them like this. If you want a supreme shoulder stretch, I'm gonna do the supreme shoulder stretch, and then Paul's gonna do the not so supreme shoulder stretch. All right, so from here, I'm gonna walk my butt back and then find my blocks and just place, so right like in between your shoulder, in between and just below your shoulder blades is where you want these blocks to be hitting. So you're gonna look like this, all right? If you've ever done fish pose in yoga, this is kind of similar to that. It's just a more extreme version. All right, so you can keep your legs bent, or if you're comfortable with this back arch, you can straighten them. All right, And I'm gonna drop my head back and extend my arms overhead. Okay, so I don't know what this is called, but basically wrap your fingers like this, point your finger and point towards the back wall. Alright, now I'm going to goal post my arms and try and push them down towards the floor. Okay, so this is going to open you up in your chest and your shoulders.
I'm gonna find my shoulders wanting to creep up by my ears. Try and keep them down.
Yeah, shoulders down. Don't bring them by your ears. I'm guilty of that. Oh, my spine just cracked. That felt amazing. Alright, now interlace your fingers again. Bring them overhead. And goalposts, bring them down. Alright, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to slowly roll up. Watch your neck coming out of this position. It's pretty intense. Okay. The next move that we're going to do for shoulders is you're gonna come into that puppy pose that we were in during warm up. I have to move you, baby, and I'm so sorry. All right, so butt up, chest down towards the ground. If you want something super intense, take your blocks and hold on to them like this, and then try and bring your chest down. Okay, now from here, let's walk back just a little bit. And I like to do this with blocks. So I'm gonna do that kind of like a reverse goalpost position where I'm sinking my chest down towards the ground and goalposting my arms and using the blocks as leverage. So I'm gonna sink down and then push up. Sink down, push up. If you don't have blocks, you can just do this. So bring your one arm out here and just kind of rotate your weight so that you're putting weight into that right arm, and then switch to the other side. So if I'm facing forward, it looks like this. And other side. Okay. All right, let's come out of that. All right, and then the last shoulder opener that I really, really like is, I'm gonna kind of break it down here. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna lay down flat on the ground. I'm gonna bring my right arm, I'm trying to decide which is easier to show. I'll start with my left arm. So my left arm is facing, let me use my face this way. Okay, just like this. Left arm is out, right arm is just here supporting me. From here, I'm gonna start rotating my chest, okay, so that I'm pushing on that left arm and stretching it out. And the more shoulder flexibility that you have, the more you can keep rotating this until, see how my right leg is coming down on the ground just like this? So it's a great spinal twist stretch, it's a great shoulder stretch. If you feel like you can go even further, take this right arm up, bring it around.
This pose does leave you open to puppy attacks.
And I'm interlacing my fingers here. All right. Okay, I'm gonna release that. Let's do the other side. Okay, so right arm out, rotating, rotating. Arm up. Where's my arm? There we go. Alright, and let's break out of that pose. I'm gonna do one more because I forgot about one. So when you're in that puppy pose, bring your elbows in front of you and then bring your hands together just like this and tuck them behind your neck. And that's like super deep, awesome shoulder stretch. All right, come on. Okay. So hopefully you guys like those stretches. Drink water after you do those stretching routine, okay? When you're stretching like that, you're going to release a lot of free radicals. So you want to flush those out as soon as possible. It's the same as like when you get a massage. It's got the exact same effect. So drink lots of water. Let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.
Nova, you're the star of the video again.
Yeah.